Hello and welcome back to the Venture Forum podcast, the Oklahoma Venture Forum OVF podcast. I'm here today with Nathaniel Harding from Cortado Ventures. We're going to discuss all about getting to know and understand and be able to work with venture capital, because this is the topic for our January meeting for Oklahoma Venture Forum. We'll have a panel of multiple people that do things very similar to Nathaniel, but today we're going to talk to him specifically about Cortado Ventures and what his role is here today. So glad to have you on the podcast today, Nathaniel.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my favorite topic. So glad to be
right,
here.
Exactly. So quickly, let people know exactly what Cortado is and what you do and some of the things that you're investing in.
So we founded Cortado Ventures last year to invest in early stage technology companies in the middle of the country. And so we look at pre-seed, seed companies predominantly, all across B2B technologies. So the area that we focus on are companies that have a technology where their customers are businesses. Okay. And so and we also focus at the early stage, and so we leverage our network and our experience as operators to help find amazing companies and founders that we can get behind.
And so you said early stage and you said B2B. So that's some of the specific areas that you work in. It's not a broad range of anything out there in the world, right?
Right. So you have some people that are generalists, other people that focus on one specific silo, and I suppose we're a little bit in between, right? So again, the B2B being the first lens, and then within that we do energy, logistics, life sciences, enterprise tech. Those are the main areas.
And focused in the middle of the country?
That's right. And so part of it is our belief that this part of the country is underfunded and overlooked by coastal VC. But it's also the place that we call home. So my co-founders, Mike Marotti and David Woods, we built our careers here. We built companies here. So we have a deep network, and also just really recognizing that amazing companies and founders can come from anywhere. And especially in the world that we live in now, where you can live and innovate anywhere, we see there's a lot of opportunity in this part of the country, and we're poised to be a big player in the investment community.
So you're located right in the middle of the country. In fact, right in the middle of downtown. We're in Bricktown in this beautiful new space. How long have you guys been here, and what was the decision to plant your seed right here?
Yeah, so most people don't know, and I guess why would they? But my partner in the building and our families, the Shelton families, the Harding families, we've actually owned these buildings for about 15 years. Buildings are 100 years old, and sometimes they show their age, but the inside's beautiful. Won an architecture award many years ago. It's obviously a new home for Cortado because Cortado's new, and so it became the global headquarters, if you will, for Cortado Ventures in the middle of last year. And but it's a great place to be. So for us, we want to be somewhere that's fun to work, and we have plenty of space, and we have great meeting space. We also in the building have event spaces. A lot of people have been to it. It's called Skyline. So we have Skyline upstairs where we host different events for founders and funders and ecosystem builders. And I guess if I can do a quick little plug, we're actually opening up some space downstairs. Okay. My partner in the building, Kevin Dunnington, he's opening up some space downstairs. Tap room, bar, coffee shop, gift shop. So a place to get a bite to eat, place for after hours, a place for your morning cup of joe. So really having activating the space for all hours, because we want this to be an exciting place to be an entrepreneur and to be an investor. And we want to attract that kind of talent. We envision some of our portfolio companies can locate here, because we're very close to the central business district. We're kind of where Bricktown meets the central business district, right across the street from the Paycom Center, the Convention Center. So where a lot of things happen, and it's also kind of a neat tip of the hat for us, because when Oklahoma City was first founded in 1889. This 0th and 0th Street, essentially where they started taking surveys and started to create.
Step one.
Yeah, the very step one is right across the street from us. We're the closest building to where that happened, and so it's kind of a neat history on a loop for us, that where Oklahoma City started is where we are really starting what we think is revolution and venture capital investing, and defining the next 100 years of the economy for Oklahoma.
How many people are employed by Cortado, and how many businesses are you currently working with?
We're a small, nimble team. A full-time total of about five people, and then another 4 people that are working on part-time consulting or contract basis. And so we do a lot with the little. In fact, we were surprised to be featured in a Forbes article entitled "How the Next Generation of Micro VCs is Punching Above Their Weight Class." So just a recognition that leveraging technology, leveraging social media and our network, and then just fully diving into this new distributed way of working. We can do a lot with the little, and so we are growing our team. So I guess another plug: we are hiring for a fund accountant, also an analyst role, an associate role, and a platform role. And so we have a lot going on, and just a lot of success with what we've done so far, and want to double down on that. And the other part of the question is how many companies. So we right now have 21 companies in the portfolio. A few haven't been announced yet, and so but that'll be coming very, very soon. But these companies a lot of them are either headquartered in Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Tulsa as well, and some other companies that are broadly in the region, so Northwest Arkansas, Colorado, Texas. But a lot of really exciting companies, and I get to learn new things every day.
What specifically is in your personality and background, et cetera, that brought you to this type of work?
Yeah, so my background is actually as a third generation oil man, right? And so I was an entrepreneur, but in the oil and gas space, building and selling oil and gas companies, and but then really found I guess a skill in starting companies, but then working with private equity, working with other capital providers. And then independently of that, started to get into angel investing and working with entrepreneurs on informal basis. Had a period in the Air Force Reserves, also had a period of time where the governor appointed me to chair the workforce board. So all of these different touch points, different elements of experience added up, and then really just having this network, being a founder, to saying, hey, there's an opportunity here. There's a great network, a very Oklahoma-centric network across different industries. And then just my own affinity. I love to always be learning new things. I love to always be a little bit uncomfortable because there's some more that I don't know than what I know. And then just be surrounded by creative, talented people that are inventing cool stuff. And so the best way to be around that was to start a venture capital firm.
Excellent. And the ideas, the concepts, the people drawn to venture capital is changing as rapidly as all of business is right now, isn't it? Lots of things that were traditional stereotypes about venture capital are definitely being erased by younger and newer entrepreneurs who are coming into the space.
That's true. Yeah, there's whether it's from just SEC new regulations around crowdfunding, or there's even a movement around Gen Z venture capital, and so it's like, which is amazing to me. You have Gen Z is now kind of coming even of age where they're in a position to be deploying capital in startups, and there's platforms that enable it, and so. But you have also really the most of the growth. As a percentage of growth of venture capital is outside of the traditional markets. It's in the middle of the country, and there's a big push among the LP community. So, a quick lesson: our investors in Cortado Ventures are called limited partners or LPs. So we get our money from other larger investors, and then it's our job to deploy that capital. But there's a big push among LPs even to look for emerging markets and recognizing that there's a lot of opportunities. And to be part of an emerging market is a smart business strategy in and of itself, just because you can be in a green field with a lot of opportunity. And so all these different things are happening, whether it's regulatory or cultural or push from the top, from the investment community. All these things are happening at the same time, and it's a great time for us to be doing what we do.
So our January event will be a panel of multiple folks who work in venture capital, answering questions and giving sort of behind the scenes, kind of peeling the curtain back on what it's like to work with a VC, what to expect. What are some of the more common questions that you get from people about working with a VC? What's one of your favorite pieces of advice to give people if they have an idea or they have an actual business startup that they think that they're ready for venture capital?
Yeah, luckily there's a lot of resources now that kind of help somebody get from an idea stage to a funding stage. Our friends at OU, the Innovation Hub, they do a lot of great work, and even beyond just students at OU, but working with the community. in a larger way. And so there's a lot of resources for somebody to go in there trying to figure out where they are on that journey. Also, Builders and Backers was recently announced. They are an idea accelerator that recently launched in Oklahoma just last week or 2 weeks ago. And there's also G-Beta, in a pre-accelerator program that's now launched here locally. So there's now a lot of programs that work with entrepreneurs to really see to help gauge where they are, but then also to connect a resource to help build it. Because not everybody, is a coder, right? But to get connected to coding talent,
right,
you may not need the full thing. You just need a wireframe to kind of show the concept. There's now resources for that. So going to one of those groups, Creative Oklahoma and OKEMP mentoring program. There's, even Oklahoma Venture Forum, of course, is a great place to go to meet all these different people that are working with entrepreneurs. All great resources to go to really just see where you're at in your journey. But then as we talk more and more about venture capital, I think more of that language becomes better understood, right? So we, for example, at Cortado, we invest at really the earliest institutional stage. Before us, it's angels and family and friends. We're the earliest institutional stage, and we start at a minimum viable product where you really have a thing that works, code or a device that it works, it does what you want it to do. There's a lot more to figure out, but at least it works. And you have a pilot, even if it's an unpaid pilot. And so, really, I want to kind of spread that message too, that when you're talking to venture capital, know where they fit in the life cycle. But also kind of know that when it comes to venture capital, if you're earlier than an MVP, if you're earlier than a pilot, then you're earlier than where we sit, which is also earlier than where most venture capital sits. But don't despair. There's a growing angel community. Victorum Capital has an angel community that is great in that way. There's also resources at I2E, their E3 program, where they work with entrepreneurs to define go-to-market strategies. And so there's lots of places to go to, and I think OVF is a great resource to find those, to then either figure out, for one, is it something that's going to make sense for VC? VC may be exciting, but it is expensive capital. It's best designed for explosive growth where that's an important part of the strategy, where scale is a huge part of the strategy. But it is expensive capital. So it may make more sense if it's not that kind of idea to go get less expensive capital, family office or individual investors. If there's cash flow, then a bank. And so that part of the educational piece is important. And one of the things that we kind of give back to say, hey, our money is not for everybody, just like not every idea is for us. And then as far as if you come in with that kind of knowledge, and if you do the research on the investor, it's all on our website. If you go on our website, it shows you the stage that we look at, the check size that we write, the kind of sectors we do. If you come in with that level of preparedness for every pitch meeting, that's the best thing you can do for yourself. It takes like 5 minutes. You can do it on your phone and learn a lot. So that would be the number one kind of advice I would give. And where somebody comes in knowing that, it shows, and it just helps have a better, more productive meeting for both parties.
That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you want to be working with people who are taking a professional approach, not simply just having an idea and starting calling up anyone who think that would just write them a blank check.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and there's, sometimes you're in a discovery phase where you're not quite sure, and that's where, again, I would refer back to some of those community resources I mentioned.
This is just a small little sampling of some of the advice that all of the panelists will have at our January meeting. Appreciate you spending some time with me today, Nathaniel, explaining Cortado and some of the insights that you guys have learned in your specific space, and looking forward to seeing you on that panel at our January Oklahoma Venture Forum meeting.
Thank you, Kyle. It's been great.